I'd first off like to introduce Mr. Pat Giomi to give a wave. And Pat is our head of department for mathematics, and he'll really be leading the main portion of the presentation tonight. We also have on hand Ms. Samantha Goddard, who's waving there. Samantha is our coordinator of curriculum leadership, and really a big part of that role is course selection and timetabling. So she's got a key overview of this whole program. We've got Ms. Angie Gerard up in my top corner, who is our diploma coordinator. So everything to do with the diploma program. And then we also have Ms. Gina Simpson, who is the equivalent in the middle years program. So our MYP coordinator for grades 6 through 10. Excuse me. We also have, not showing up there for me, but I know he's here, Mr. Cole Carlson, who is our deputy head of academics.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending, and thank you to Damon for moderating and getting us started here.
Awesome. And I would also just like to say that we are missing tonight Mr. Doug Palm, our senior school principal, who had a medical appointment that he's currently, that couldn't be changed and was scheduled a long time ago. And I know that, texting with him a bit earlier, he would probably choose to be here, I think, with everyone here, rather than convalescing, but he's sends his regrets. For the format of the evening, in a minute here, I'll pass it over to Pat, who can then really walk us through the changes and present an overview of everything that we'd like to discuss tonight. And we're hoping that throughout the course of that presentation, we'll be able to answer most questions that you might have. If at the end of that time, there'll obviously be a time for questions and answers as well. So if, as you're going through and Pat's going through and something comes up, if you could just jot it down and make a note of it. And then at the end of the time, we'll have an opportunity for you to just put those questions into the chat. And then we can go through and hopefully we should be able to answer all the questions that come up. I would say also, if you've got a specific question that's unique to your child, probably best to hold on and just connect directly with the people that will be able to be helpful for that specific question. And we'll go through that at the end too, as to how to direct you to who to contact for a specific question that might be more particular to your student situation. Okay. I think then, if Pat, that's okay with you, I'll pass it over to you. And so you can share your screen and we can see, we can get started.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. I don't know if I'm more popular than Netflix, but I appreciate everybody coming tonight, and it's nice to see a lot of familiar names down the list, and I've had the pleasure of teaching a lot of your children, and if I haven't, I look forward to teaching them in the near future. So we're going to talk about the changes that we're making to the math pathways tonight. I'd just like to give a little bit of background on myself. I am the department head for mathematics, as Mr. Henry said, for middle school through to senior school. So that's grade 6 right through to grade 12. Currently at the school, I teach the Math 8 extended program. I have a grade Math 10 extended class. I teach the ANA. You'll hear hopefully a lot of acronyms. Well, not hopefully, but you'll hear some acronyms tonight. I'll do my best to explain them as we go along. ANA is one of our diploma program courses in mathematics. It's called Analysis and Approaches. I currently teach grade 11 and the grade 12 levels of that. And I also teach pre-calculus 12. And I've taught grade 9 here as well, and I've also taught everything from grade 6 to college mathematics in the 27 years that I've been a math teacher. I'm happy to have Damon and Cole with us tonight, and once again to echo Damon's sentiments. We wish Doug all the best, and I know he wanted to be here tonight. In terms of what I'd like to talk about tonight, I'm going to cover several points. We're going to talk a little bit about, you know, why we're here, what we're doing, you know, why we're doing this, obviously, who it's going to affect, when they're going to take these changes will take effect, and how we are going to go about making this transition. And as Damon said, hopefully he'll summarize some questions, and but I anticipate I can try to answer most of them as I go through the presentation. So just a little background. Most of you may be familiar that recently the province of British Columbia has instituted a new curriculum redesign. So we serve basically 2 masters at the school. We cover the entire British Columbia curriculum, and we also implement and cover the IB curriculum. Fortunately, much of that is overlap, but there are areas that we have to obviously cover to meet the IB curriculum. If you've had some familiarity with the British Columbia curriculum, you'll notice that it is very, very much like what we presently do with IB. So well done them for jumping on the bandwagon. So back in 2017, actually before I got to the school was already planning to change the mathematics program to meet the needs of the new diploma program. So what IB had done is they had decided to start with the top level program, change that, and then later on, which is this year, they've instituted a new curriculum at the middle years. This is my 5th, I think, curriculum change in the years that I've been teaching. Usually it starts at the bottom and goes up. So coming from the top down has made it especially challenging for us. And it's one of the reasons that we've had to create a little hybrid model to kind of get us through this, this kind of intervening phase in order to get our students into the programs that the mathematics programs that they wanted to. Okay, I'm fully aware and cognizant, having gone through this many times, that change is difficult and it's hard, but we're working hard to make it as smooth as possible. Okay, just to give you an idea of where what's actually happening. This was the mathematics pathways in the program of study when I first got to the school. It's since shifted to this is our most recent one, but this is the model that we're heading to. Just a more simplified way for students to understand how they're going to get to eventually that post-secondary goal, right? We are a university prep school, and the idea is to get everybody to post-secondary. So we're trying to streamline it, to simplify it, and I could confidently say that most of the questions I get is, how does my daughter or son get to X, Y, or Z? And hopefully this will make it a little easier for people to understand. I'll talk more about those pathways in a second. So what are we doing? So in the middle school, we're moving to a standard program for all the classes from grade 6 through to grade 8. This isn't something new to us. We've been talking about this in the department and with the school leadership for about a year and a half. With the new curriculum, it's not about accelerating the students. It's about extending their programs and enriching their programs. That's the main focus. The whole idea is to prepare them for the path that they want to take in senior school and post-secondary. So it's really a long game, and it starts at grade 6, right? The math classes will be organized by home form, so just like they have for their L&L classes or their other classes, they'll be in their home forms. And we will provide differentiation and enrichment in all those classes. Okay, so we have a number of our teachers, me included, who I teach at both ends of the spectrum. I teach in the middle school, and I also teach at the grade 12 level. So, and I'm not the only one. And I think that's an advantage that GNS has above other schools, that you don't often get the grade 12 teachers, teaching grade 6 or 7 or 8. Right, so there's some nice continuity there, and it's really nice to get to know the kids in the middle school. You see them in the senior school. You're not this foreign person to them. You've made that connection already, and we'll continue that into the future. Okay, I just want to stress how much of this in the planning and in the discussions we have are the main focus has always been the student. Right, what's best for the student, how will they be most successful, and how can we help them meet their needs, both in terms of their social development, but primarily from my perspective, their development in mathematics. So that's been central to all of our discussions and the reasons that we're really doing this. So in the senior school, with the new MYP curriculum and the DP curriculum as well, we will be having standard and extended classes. We currently have those in grade 9 and 10, but they will be fully implemented next year. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. These are things that are happening behind the scenes. This realignment starting in grade 9 to the diploma program is something that we're already doing, and to the provincial pathways. You won't see that, you wouldn't notice it, your students wouldn't notice it, but from a programming perspective, we're making subtle changes in the program to make sure that we're covering the new curriculum, getting them ready for either the DP or the provincial pathway if they so choose to go that way. Okay. So we'll be offering Pre-Calculus 11. We've had that course in the past, but we're bringing it back. And that, because we're discontinuing the Math A and I, so this isn't the A and A, this is the applications and, oh God, there's so many acronyms. Applications and investigations. Interpretations. You think I'd know that? So we're discontinuing that course and replacing it basically with pre-calculus. It's a better pathway for the students. If they're going the provincial stream, we need that Pre-Calculus 11 to prepare them for Pre-Calculus 12. We've always had Pre-Calculus 12, but we're finding that the A&I course, which I'll talk a little bit more about a little later, isn't meeting the post-secondary requirements that we thought it would, and that's one of the main focuses of why we're doing this. I'm going to explain that more in a second, exactly why we're going to do this. We've been receiving feedback from parents, from students, from the universities in terms of, why are you doing this? Couldn't you do this better? So all of that is basically behind the decisions that we've been made and coming to this presentation this evening, right? We're incorporating everything that you've told us over the years, and I've heard a lot from parents over the years. One nice thing about GNS, that parents aren't shy to share their perspectives, and we welcome that, and we're responding to that, right? So one of the things that we want is all of our students, and I stress all of our students, to have a positive mathematics experience, right? We want to provide, obviously, greater success for every learner, and we can do that by better aligning the MYP to the DP, and that is happening right now with the new implementation of the MYP. So before we were in we were in this kind of, I almost hate to say purgatory, like where we were we had this hybrid program that we had to institute to get the kids to this upper level that's changed. And now we can do that much more smoothly, with greater consistency, so that everybody will have an opportunity to, choose the right pathway for them at the end of grade 10. We always want to challenge and support our students. That's one of the things when I first came to GNS, the support that we have for students in terms of their access to teachers, their access to the Math Help Center in the senior school is phenomenal. A lot of schools just don't have that. Either they're too big and, students are just a number, or, there's other things that, so the teachers don't have the time to spend with the students. We do spend that time with the kids, and we get to know all the kids, and that's one of the great things about our school. Once again, of course, we want to maintain our high expectations and leverage all the resources that we do have. I will plug my team. I have an excellent team in the math department now. We've gone through some changes over the years, and I'm really excited about the team that I have and the group of teachers and the learning strategies professionals that we have, all the supports that we can draw on. I think it's amazing. One of the things I didn't mention before, and if you don't know me, both of my daughters are at the school. One is currently in grade 12 taken the provincial pathway, and the other is currently in grade 10, and she's on the diploma pathway. So I've seen it from both sides, right, as both the teacher and as the parent. So I think I got a pretty good handle on, and they sure tell me their feedback on the math program. And like I mentioned before, we would be, it wouldn't be prudent for us if we didn't listen to you and listen to the universities and adjust our programs to better meet the requirements of post-secondary. And that's one of the reasons we do this, right? We're a university preparatory school, and we want to ensure that our kids are set up for success when they hit university. And the feedback I've gotten from the graduates that I've happened to correspond with after they left GNS is, they're in pretty good shape when they get to university, and I've expressed how they find some of their friends in university that aren't as well prepared as they are. And once again, all of this is done not only from your feedback, but we've done our research. We want to ensure that we have the best pedagogical practices. We've debated over how we're going to do this, where we're going to do this, why we're going to do this. So it's not a decision that's been taken lightly, and we've definitely gone around the post a few times, looking at what we wanted to do and how it's going to affect our students. And, once again, always with the students' success at the center of our discussions. So who's going to be affected? Mostly it's these three groups, and I'll speak to each of them, that are going to be affected by the changes. For everybody else, you really won't notice anything different. But for example, for the Math 7E group, not having an extended program in the middle school next year will mean that they will be part of the standard program. And we know that it's going to be a review for much of them, some of the material. But at the same time, we're looking at the long game, and doing this at middle school is a prudent thing to do, because next year those grade 7 students will be grade 8 students. They will be the senior students in the middle school. It's a comfortable place for them. If we're going to make a change, we don't want to make it when they're just entering high school where everything's new and they're the little fish in a big pond. The middle school curriculum is specifically designed to have a spiraling effect. Like, there's a lot of repetition regardless, already designed in the curriculum. And so it's a good place to do it. It's a safe place to do it. And, you know, we're confident that the enrichment activities that we have in place, the new resources that we're getting for the middle years program, by going to a digital model, we can leverage those technical resources and leverage our teaching staff to really make it a worthwhile experience for the kids. The grade 10 regular program, excuse me, I'm just going to have a little sip of water, has always been an issue with the change to the new diploma courses. To move from the regular Math 10 program to the Diploma Program courses required grade 10 students to take summer school or somehow get a pre-calculus 11 credit over the summer so that they would be prepared to enter the grade 11 A&A math stream. That's not ideal. Nobody likes to go to summer school. I taught it a couple of years ago, and I had a real bunch of trooper students, but it's difficult. And so that issue of trying to get from the regular program to the A&A program that used to involve summer school, I think we have a plan for that. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but the good news is with the new changes to the curriculum and the way we're implementing, there should be no need for summer school whatsoever. Once the students enter grade 9, if they're in the regular stream, they should be going straight into the A&A standard level program. If they're going into the extended stream, they would also be doing that at the grade 9 level. So we're happy about that. Nobody enjoys going to summer school, and we're hoping to get rid of that. For our current regular grade 10s, the plan is to, if they have a desire to pursue the diploma program, we will supplement their current work with units that they would need to catch up on, so they can do that. And one of the reasons we're doing this now is so that they can start now, right? We don't want to be in a position where they have to work over the summer. There might be a little work, but that would be totally up to them, and we can support them now and help them get to the point where they can just slide into the A&A SL stream, which is where the majority of our DP students go for grade 11. So we have a plan in place for them, and I will be going into their classroom actually tomorrow afternoon, and to talk to them a little bit more about that. For our current IB applications and interpretation 11 students, what we've provided for them is for some options for next year. One of them was always the pre-calculus 11 or pre-calculus 12. That's always available to them. If they want to continue with the applications and interpretations course, they could do that through a program called Pomoja. It's an online school. We've used them in the past. They've been around for 10 years. And there is also an opportunity for them to, just like the regular 10 students, do some supplemental work and actually get into the analysis and approaches program as well. And I was speaking to them this morning about that. So we have a plan in place for those students. One of the reasons that we are going away from the applications and interpretations is that it's not opening as many doors post-secondary wise as we had anticipated, and that's the feedback that we're getting from universities. The pre-calculus 11 and 12 route opens many more doors, and so that's one of the main reasons that we have to change. We have to adapt with what the universities are saying. So we've already started making these changes. As I mentioned before, there's subtle changes in the grade 9s and 10 program. We notice that. You might not notice that, but we've been making those changes already and preparing those students to go into their preferred pathway. The full-scale implementation, of course, will occur in September of 2021. In the middle school, as I mentioned before, we'll have the heterogeneous classes from grade 6 to grade 8. The students will be doing their math in their home form with a math specialist teacher. We are getting new resources for the MYP for next year. Those will include digital textbooks. We're currently using digital texts with our grade 11s and 12s, as well as some of our 10 extended kids. We have some new technology coming online, and we're excited about that. But the big thing is, meeting the students where they are and providing them with a good foundation so that when they make the move over into the high school, that they're prepared to go into the standard level program. If they're not one of our mathletes, if they're a mathlete and math is what they live and breathe for, they go home and do it for fun on the weekends, those are the students that we really would encourage to go into the extended program. The extended program leads to the math HL level for analysis and approaches and analysis. So those are the kids that really want to do mathematics at university. They want to do physics at university. They are the ones who relish doing the math contests. Those are the ones that we encourage to go into the extended program. The majority of our students will be going into the standard level program, and those are the students that are, the world's their oyster. Really. And if they choose to do the provincial program, the world's their oyster too. So I think we're setting them up for success. In the senior school, as I mentioned before, it's some of the same things. We're getting new digital resources for the 9s and 10s to flow into the ones we have for the 11s and 12s. There is enrichment at both the standard level and at the extended level. So we'll have opportunities for doing that. Once again, the nice thing for us, works behind the scenes mostly, is that we have a better alignment between the MYP and the DP now with the changes to the MYP program. So, there's a nice scope and sequence all the way from grade 6 through to grade 12, but obviously with the senior school, we're focused on the 9 to 12. This will strengthen our provincial course offerings. And for some students, that's very important. As I mentioned earlier, too, there's no more summer school, which would be great. And we have math specialists at all levels. So I'm excited about my team and, really looking forward to the changes that we're making.
Thank you, Pat, for putting that together in such detail and really walking us through the changes that we're looking at. So, as I mentioned before, if this is an opportunity for questions, and we'll just use the chat function for that. So, if you've got something that something specific, something that you need a little more clarity on, then please just use the chat, and then I can help direct it to the appropriate person. We've got lots of experts in the room here that I think we can help out with. question regarding math clubs, and this is an excellent one. So Pat, I'll put this to you. So math clubs in middle or senior schools.
Yeah, so we have a math club in the senior school. It's run by Jason Lee, one of our math teachers. Jason teaches the other AD section with me. And so they run once a week, and they're coming up on their first math competition. They have a team competition coming up. I think it's in January, February, March. I think it's in March. You know, as well as participating in all the other math contests that we do. But we do have a math club at the senior school. We'd love to start one in the middle school, so it's on our radar. It's just a matter of, you know, it's staffing, but definitely it's something that we're considering in the middle school. Great idea, love it.
Yeah, that agree. And that's one that in the middle school level I think would really help for yeah, some of those kids that are looking for a little bit more, that are living and breathing the mathematics. Question regarding the new programs opening doors at the university level. So just looking for that transition between the DP into post-secondary. So Pat, and also maybe Angie, if you want to jump in on that piece too.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to say is, so we have the HL level, which is the higher level math at grade 11 and 12, and it'll be extended in 9 and 10, and we have the standard level. Just to give you an idea, my standard level students, so I got a great bunch of grade 12s, they're doing standard level. They're applying to MIT, Stanford, Yale, Harvard. I just had a request today from one of my grade 12s. She's applying for a scholarship at McGill, and she wants me to write a reference letter for her. You know, like it is a rigorous program. It's a challenging program. They have to write a mathematics paper from 12 to 20 pages long about an exploration in mathematics. So it's a fabulous course. And you know, these kids are going to go places, and that's our standard level kids. When I think about our higher level kids, I'm thinking, wow, you know, these are the Elon Musks of the world, right? You know, they're going to be splitting atoms and doing all kinds of wonderful things. So, you know, and our provincial students, the same thing. They go off to McGill, they go off to U of T, they go, you know, they get into the programs that they need to get into. And I don't know if Madame Gerard wants to add anything to that, but you know, in terms of the robustness of our program and the rigor, you know, the kids really, you know, meet the bar that we raise for them, and they're a great bunch of students.
I could just add a little bit of background here with the new DP courses that the new curriculum that came out 2 years ago. When a new curriculum, and especially around maths, we know for a lot of programs such as for maths and post-secondary sciences, business and engineering, we know that those prerequisites are looked very closely at by universities. And so the first group of students who graduated under the new curriculum in the diploma program, when I was speaking with other coordinators around the province, we were all sort of wondering, how are these new maths programs going to be recognized? So we were all sort of hanging on by the bits of our fingers, and so what has come up, has come about over the last couple of years is that definitely the math curriculum that opens the most number of doors, including for students going into social sciences within the diploma, is the analysis and approaches at the standard level. And so that's what we're referring to as far as the world is your oyster, pretty much.
Yeah, the only other thing I would add, just to give some context and perspective, is that historically, we have about 45% of our grade 12 students choose the provincial math pathway. About 45% choose the standard level diploma pathway. And we only have about 5%, like about 10 students in the higher level pathway. It's a very unique and a specialized group of kids. And then we have, the last 5% who don't have to do any math in their grade 12 year. And that's because they may have completed math early, or they just don't need it for their post-secondary. So just so people know, we have pretty much an even split between those who choose the provincial pathway in mathematics and those who choose to pursue the diploma route.
Awesome, thank you. Lots of great questions coming in, so thank you for that. Next one, regarding moving from grade 8 into grade 9. So just the way that pathway works in terms of moving from a grade 8 course into potentially a 9E.
Yeah, so it's it's a tricky one, because really we go with the recommendation of the teacher, right? Is it a good fit? If there is a discrepancy between what the student and parents may think about what the best fit is and what the teacher is, that's always a conversation that we have, and we try to get ahead of the game and say, we think this is a good path for the student. The tricky part is that there's so much maturity that goes on from grade 7 through to grade 10. It's a real hard nut to crack, and I have to admit, there's nothing preventing a student from going from the standard level pathway to the extended pathway, and vice versa. Matter of fact, that's usually the way it goes. Is students try out the extended path, they try out the HL program, and they say, you know what, it's not for me. I'm happy to go with the standard level, and they do terrifically. And we want them to try the higher level programs if they can. They love it, but they really have to have a passion for mathematics to be successful. And I say that only because it's very difficult. Like the mathematics they do at the grade 12 level, I shake my head at stuff I was doing in third year at university, and I just boggles my mind. So it's tough, it's challenging, but if they live and breathe math, that's the course for them. And we got a great teacher in Mr. Brown who just can pretty much handle any question that's thrown at him. But it's tough. It's very difficult.
Thanks, Pat. Next one, looking at current grade 11 students in the A&I course, looking to potentially make the switch over to the A&A for grade 12, and what that could look like if that's a summer school option.
Yeah, so well, there are some options, and if one thing came out of COVID that was actually good, if I can say that, without being struck by lightning somewhere, was that we had a situation where we had a young girl, same deal. She was in the A&I pathway, and there wasn't enough students to run the A&I 12 course this year. So she was bright, she was smart, she really wanted to do the DP, and I said, okay, and this was in June, right? This was after COVID, where we're wrapping things up. And I said, okay, this is what you need to do to be prepared for September. I gave her some resources. I gave her a whole bunch of work to do over the summertime. Now, the saving graces, it was COVID, and she had nothing better to do. So she had the time to spend on the work. And she came back in September. I said, okay, show me what you did. She laid it all out for me, and I said, terrific, in you go. So now she's in my Math SL class. She's doing great. Really outstanding. So by having these conversations now, we're hoping that we can actually get ahead of the game. And if students want to make those same moves, we can actually ease the burden by, amortizing it over a longer period, helping them out while they're still in school, while we still have face-to-face contact with the kids, and getting into the course they need to be in for their courses at university. So yeah, we're excited about that, if that's I can say that.
Good, thank you, Pat. Next one is looking really at that 7E group. that we spoke about a bit before, and just how to present that change of not having the extended option in grade 8 for that group of grade 7 students. And I'm happy to speak to this one a bit too, Pat, but go ahead.
No, I'll just say a couple things. You know, those mathletes will always be the mathlete, regardless of what class they're in. And even in my Math 8E class that I currently teach, I differentiate because I got some superstars in that class, and I have some kids that struggle in that class. And the same thing will happen next year. It doesn't really, we have that buffer of grade 8. We don't think that, we think it's a good thing. There's no, from my perspective, there's no downsides. I can always, stimulate that enthusiastic learner, regardless of whether I'm in an enriched class or a standard level class. I can, I can make it, I can do it for that kid. I've been doing it for 27 years. So, so I have a good feeling about it. I'm confident, especially with the new resources. There's so much out there that we can tap into. There shouldn't be any levels of boredom. I'm really excited about it. It's something I'm looking forward to, Damon, and I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Yeah, the only thing, I think that's really the key, is that the teachers have already started looking at ways to differentiate for those kids and to make sure that they're being challenged as much as the kids that are finding the course challenging already are being supported. And because, as Pat mentioned, this change has been talked about for a while, so that the teachers have already been thinking about the ways that they can support those kids next year and make sure that they're feeling challenged. And again, just to go back to the idea that there's a lot of review built in to the middle school math program already. So it's, the topics that they're covering in their 7E class, they would be hitting again in their 8E class anyway. So the key here is that we're really just making that anytime you have to make a curricular change, there's going to be, a little pinch point. But this one, we really want to focus on that group and make sure that they're being well supported. Next one, just looking at math help options in the senior school. So arrangements in place for students for drop-in at lunch or after school at the senior school for math help.
We can easily field this one.
Yeah.
We have the Math Help Center. It's located on Lower Simpson, where all of the math classrooms are. Excuse me. It's open every day at lunchtime, and there is always at least one math teacher in there. It's open after school on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Because we have staff meetings and meetings on Tuesdays, there's nobody there to help the students. And obviously, Friday afternoon is not a popular time with students to hang around the school, so there's nobody there. But yeah, we're there from 3:30 to 4:30 every day, like I mentioned, after school. It's drop-in. Of course, with COVID, we used to have everybody in one room, but obviously with COVID, we have the grade 9s in a room, the grade 10s in a separate room, and the grade 11s and 12s are there, a single cohort, so they can be in the same room at the same time. And it's, I can't plug it enough. You've seen it. I put it in the announcements several times since I've been here because it's a wonderful resource. You shouldn't need to hire a tutor. We have the students' math teachers available, almost exclusively. And if you come on today I was there Thursday afternoon, it was my shift, and there was one student. So she basically had my full attention for an entire hour. I don't think you can beat those odds, right? And I'm her math teacher, so so she does that regularly. And I think one of the things that I could stress to parents is try to convince your child to make it a regular part of their day. It's not punitive. We're there to help. But if they can make it a regular part of their schedule, then it just becomes like, you shouldn't be helping them with the homework at home. We're sitting there. ready to help them. So, by all means, take advantage of that. If you don't have to pick them up until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, say, hey, why don't you go to the Math Help Center, right, and crack open your math books, right? So we're happy to help, and I think it's a wonderful resource. No other school that I've taught at, and I've taught at 4 other high schools, has anything like this.
Awesome, thank you. A couple of comments here. Thank you for Paula. Just to the question regarding if it's possible to share the slide deck after, in addition to the recording. I think that's definitely doable. So yeah, great point. Thank you, Jen, too, just endorsing the idea regarding the middle school math club. Appreciate that. A question here just regarding the pre-calc 11. So if entering pre-calculus 11, is it a 2-year program where you must do pre-calc 12, or can you switch over to the ANA SL 12 after pre-calc 11?
No. Once you're kind of in that pre-calculus stream, the only way you could switch over to ANA would be to take pre-calculus 12 via some other route, either by SIDES, summer school, or some other correspondence course. There's just too much curriculum that you would have missed. So it's very challenging to go from pre-calc 11 right into ANA 12. You'd have to do pre-calculus 12. There's just a whole gambit. It's easier to do going from 10 to 11, but very, very difficult to do from 11 to 12. So once you've chosen the provincial stream, unless you want to take pre-calculus 12, concurrently, there's honestly nothing stopping anybody from taking more than one math course at a time, but we can't do it with our timetable, but you would have to do it through South Island Distance Education or by some other means.
And similarly, in that vein, looking at the current grade 11 ANI students who would now potentially be looking at ANI 12 through Pomoja, just the teaching supports that the school could help out with.
Yeah, so this is our plan for those students who still want to continue with the ANI, and Madame Gerard can jump in here. She knows a little bit more about Pomoja than I do. What I've told the students today is that we're happy to help them. We're happy to support them with any assistance that they need, just like we would any of our students. The nice thing is that when they do get into grade 12, they tend to have more studies, and a lot of those studies usually overlap with my preps. So I'm always available to my students during my preps, and they take full advantage of that. And we do supervised studies too. So, I'm answering math questions during our study blocks. So there's lots of additional supports. There's also the Math Help Center that they can take advantage of. So, and I think, and Madame Gerard can correct me, but when they enroll in Pomoja, it's not like it's not just a static course. They do, I believe, get a Pomoja teacher that they can also communicate with and correspond with, and there's tutoring available via Pomoja. So, Madame, if you want to maybe just speak to that a little more.
Yeah, the Pomoja course is very impressed since this is my 6th year as a diploma coordinator, and I'm also the site-based coordinator for Pomoja. And so subject teachers aside who could support these students at GNS, I act as a support for them as well. Not that I can help them with their math, Mr. Jiomi, but no, the Pomoja program is very well supported. If there's any sign of, students can always reach out to their Pomoja teachers. If there's any sign of a student not being engaged or not handing in assignments or experiencing any type of difficulty, they will always write to the student to inquire, what's up, how are things going? And they always copy me as the site-based coordinator, so that then I'm able to reach out to the student and any of our teachers with whom they could have a face-to-face conversation with, or in this case, remind them about the wonderful resources available through the Math Help Center. So it's very well supported.
Yeah, and the only other thing I'd add to Madame Gerard is that Pomoja is an IB endorsed program.
Yeah, it's the only online provider of DP courses that is, I don't know of any others, so it's the only one in the world that is, okay and approved by IB.
Good, thank you both. Next one, just looking at that, again, that transition from the grade 8 group into grade 9. So if there's no 8E, no extended class, how will we identify the students that will be best suited for that 9E class?
Yeah, one word: passion. Really, if they're passionate about mathematics and it's what they love, they don't have to be the all-star in the class. They just have to have a passion for it. Their teacher will recognize that. Their teacher will recommend them for that program. It helps if you have a little mathematical horsepower in the tank, but really it's about passion, it's about interest, and it's also about, if you have some long-term plans and mathematics is something you want to do when you leave high school, then you should be in the extended stream and then into the higher level stream. But if you're good at math, you like math, but it's not what you live for, then the standard program will suit all of your needs. And like I mentioned, my students in the standard program are applying to MIT, some of the big Ivy League schools. It definitely gets you where you want to go. And same thing with the Pre-Calculus 12, the provincial program. It opens up a whole host of doors for every, I would say every university in Canada. I can't speak to the American ones, but everybody recognizes Pre-Calculus 12. It's just a given. No matter what province you're in, Pre-Calculus 12 is Pre-Calculus 12, and it opens the gate for almost all university programs.
Yeah, I think I'll just add to just that by making that switch at the end of grade 8 as opposed to at the end of grade 6, where we're really identifying students for that extended stream, it really allows us the time to know those kids really well and to give some leeway for the students that mature at different rates. And we're really seeing that those students that were coming out of grade 6 into the 7E, sometimes there was often students that were ready for it, but just a little bit later. And that created some challenges. So I think by making that switch at grade 9, it's a much more appropriate spot. It's also backed by a lot of pedagogical research as well, saying that streaming too early is not always the most appropriate thing. And I think that leads us into our next question too, just around, again, that by not having extended streams in grade 7 and 8, how we can support and benefit the students that really have that passion and that interest for math, and the in-class instruction and enrichment opportunities that will support those kids. Equivalent at working at the next grade level, I would say. I'll just go for a sec, Pat, and then I'll turn it over to you and anyone else, Samantha or Gina or Cole, if you want to jump in as well. But just it's not necessarily going to be about moving faster, but it's about going a bit deeper. So those enrichment activities that we'll be able to offer those kids that are really keen, will be able to just dig in more and deeper into those concepts as opposed to accelerating, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I would only maybe even turn this over to Madame Goddard in that the curriculum, the IB curriculum, really isn't designed for acceleration. It's not. It doesn't benefit the students in any way. It's designed for extending the concepts that they're working on, enriching their mathematical experience. It's not about getting there faster. It's about getting there better and better equipped to handle the challenges at university. When you look at the actual meat and potatoes of the curriculum, it's really about diving deep into the concepts. It's about making connections amongst all of the concepts, and that provides for a richer mathematical experience. You can always get ahead. You can take AP courses, you know, on your own. If you really want to take AP courses, you can take you know, calculus courses. There's nothing stopping a student from doing that, but they will, you know, they will graduate with their peers, and they will be in good shape for the for post-secondary. Madame Goddard, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Hi, Pat. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I think you said it really well. I think absolutely the big reason, as Pat said, in making this change is really helping all our students get to where they want to go. So the idea of differentiation enrichment is going to be really, really important for maintaining our students' interests. Just because we don't have the extended classes in grades 7 and 8 doesn't mean that the students won't be challenged and won't continue to be and to explore their passion for maths. But I think what we're definitely seeing is we're not going to have a pathway where students are suddenly like, oh, I can't go where I need to go. We're now going to be meeting the needs of the majority of our, you know, all of our students, actually, sorry, to be really clear, all of our students. And there's some very clear pathways that all of our students will be able to access. And really now, the extended class, rather than lots of our students have to be in an extended class in grades 6 to 10, 7 to 10. It's really just those that are really got a huge love of math and huge skills in math that need to be in the extended class. So this is just going to be a really positive move forward for all of our students from grade 6 right up to grade 12.
Sorry, if I could pop in just for a second too. Math in the middle years levels it's a little bit different than it is when you get into the diploma level, where some of those diploma courses are differentiated based on the content covered in the class. So in an AI class, you might have covered stats, probability, calculus stuff. Or in another class, you may have covered polynomials or trigonometry. Whereas in the middle years program, when you're going from 7 to 8 to 9 to 10, you're still going to cover that same content. It's spiraling around. So if you're looking at algebra, for example, you're just going to be doing more complicated algebra as you work your way up. So those extended grades, for example, grade 8E, you're going to be hitting the same kind of content at a deeper level. And we can still do that with those kids in a different class format, where the teachers are able to meet the kids where they're at and continue to challenge them. One of the other factors involved, particularly at those ages, is the self-management skills are all over the map. And it isn't necessarily their math skills that are the determining factor. It's some of those self-management skills that are coming to fruition. So that's really important. And we don't want to limit kids in terms of their future math courses by their self-management skills at a particular age. And one other factor is we get a lot of students coming from outside of BC and outside of Canada. And because of the curriculums in different parts of the world that cover different topics at different paces, there's sometimes gaps where a kid might be missing a particular unit, although they're in that grade, or they may be covering a unit for a second time. So those sorts of things happen a lot in the middle years program. And really the goal is to keep kids inspired by keeping them challenged and giving them engaging material. So I hope that gives a little bit more context to it.
Yeah, thanks everyone there. I'm just conscious of the time, and that but we're also almost into questions. So I think that should work out. A question regarding taking the stream of the 9E and 10E, is there an advantage to taking 9E and 10E and then going to the SL ANA, or is it just, and is it still possible going from as we've said, the standard 9 and 10 into the SL? Is there an advantage there, Pat?
No, there's no advantage if you're going from the extended program to the standard program. We have students do it all the time. right? They always move. They usually move from the higher level or extended program into the standard program, just mostly because they've researched their university and they realize that, and they need, I have to mention this too, for the DP, and Madame Jard can provide more information, they have to choose 3 higher level courses and 3 standard level courses. So if they're taking chem, physics, math, a language, obviously, and English, they usually choose a standard level math. Not, they're brilliant, but they are taking some pretty heavy duty courses as well to that. So, but I'll let Madame speak to that because she's much more versed in that arena than I am.
Yeah, I think what we tend to see is when we have students, you're absolutely correct, Mr. Jomi. There's the 3 and 3 split between higher and standard levels courses within the diploma. The only other combo that students across the world can have within their diploma is up to 4 higher level courses and 2 standard levels. But the vast majority of students around the world hit that balance between the 3 and the 3. And I find it, actually I was going to mention this earlier, but I'll mention it now. I find it very interesting over the last 6 years working very closely with our university guidance advisors around some of these more competitive programs at various institutions around the world, that even to get into very competitive engineering, I'll use engineering as the example, engineering programs, a maths ANA HL is not actually required. So yes, you may have students with the trifecta of the physics, the chem, and the maths ANA HL heading into math sciences engineering, for example, but also we see a lot of students who choose to embark upon the maths ANA standard level with the combination of chem and physics HL, and then they find their HL maybe en français, I don't know, or language and literature, or one of their individuals and societies courses. So there's lots of flexibility within the standard level and higher level choices, which is always good. Choice is good.
Awesome, thank you. We've got one more that we can squeeze in from Jody. I wanted to just ask a quick question.
Thank you. Sorry, it would take me forever to type it, so I appreciate it, and I know we've gone over time. Can you speak a little bit, and I understand this is about changes to curriculum from 6 to 12, but can you talk a little bit about just how you bridge junior to middle with math real quickly? Because we attended Tanis Mason's curriculum talk a couple weeks ago, which was thrilling and exciting. And I probably should have asked this 4 years ago when Ruby was first moving into grade 6, but I'm really curious about how you take the program that's happening at the junior school and how you bridge what they're doing there with grade 6, and then what seems to be like a logical sort of narrowing of mathematical alternatives and options. Yeah, what happens in that now that I have another little one coming up into the grade 6 to 12 pathway?
Yeah. Well, I'll just mention a couple of things, and then I'm going to turn it over to the professionals in that area. This is only my second year as the math department head, my third year at the school. And one of the things that we've been working on and that we've been talking about is how can we make that transition a little easier. In the fall, right up till Christmas time, I had been meeting once every 2 weeks with Miss Mason. I met with the grade 5 teachers back in November, to get their perspective. If you notice, I have a surname very familiar with the junior school, so I'm very familiar with the PYP. But it is, like I said, I think we have it pretty good from grade 6, that scope and sequence 6 to 12, and what we're trying to do is make a better match coming from the beach to the middle school. So we're working on it. There's always areas of improvement, but I'll turn it over to Damon and the other professionals to talk about how that transition actually manifests itself.
Sure, and please, anyone else jump in as well there. But I think one of the keys, Jody, too, is just that the link in the program between the PYP and the MYP is built in. And so the idea of looking through units of inquiry really carries through into the way that the math program is structured in the middle years programs as well. As Pat's saying, I think that's one of the transition points that's so key, that we're looking at that how we can make that as smooth as possible for sure. But I think that in a lot of ways the links are built into the programs.
I just want to jump in here. I think the timing has exacerbated that question a little bit, just given the different structures that are in place at the beach related to COVID, because teachers are more tied to one learning group. The learning environment can look a little different. And at Pemberton Woods, because our teachers teach across several learning groups, they're often tied to the front of the classroom a bit more, so that they have some of that distance, and the structures of learning with kids in rows, they don't look the same this year as they would have last year pre-COVID, and nor will they look that way forever. There's a lot of pedagogical things that we wish we were able to do right now to get the kids collaborating and stuff more, that we're having to find ways to do it either virtually through computers, or we're just having to do it differently this year. And I'm not trying to make an excuse for it, but I'm new to the school this year myself, and walking around in the classrooms, I have to have those conversations with teachers saying, oh, we considered doing this, and I keep having to be reminded, that's how we usually do it, but we can't this year because, and so it's just another lens.
I'll just jump in because I just can't help myself. But just Pat's being very humble in that since Pat has taken over the department, he's really done a lot to really get that continuum from the PYP to the DP. And the funny thing about IB is that the cart comes before the horse very much, in that the DP makes changes and then the MYP makes the changes to support the DP, and it filters down. And then the PYP has also just experienced changes. So there is now a continuum in maths that is supporting all through 3 programs, and that communication is definitely open between the different campuses, and everything's working and planned in the way that it should, but it's definitely come quite a ways even in the last 3 years, I would say. So, but a great question, Jody, for sure.
Yeah, these changes in curriculum, they happen in math, which is certainly, everybody pays attention to math without a doubt. But they happen in all subjects. And so it's important to know that these changes are happening in every school that delivers an IB program, and the changes that relate to the BC curriculum are happening across the province, and they're continuously happening in schools. We just want to make sure we're engaging our family in the dialogue when it's happening, so that you're aware.
I'm realizing that we've gone over time, so I'd like to wrap up, but just to say, for me, thank you so much for spending time and coming in tonight to ask great questions and just to be a part of this conversation.
I'd love to just take a second as well. Thank you, Damon, for moderating, and to Angie and Gina and Samantha for being part of the discussion here at the end, and certainly to Pat and his whole math department for the work you've done, because this work isn't just from this past month or anything like that. This is years in the making. So thanks for your leadership there. We appreciate that. If you could pass that on to the math teachers, and of course to the parents, thank you so much for being with us here tonight. We hope we answered your questions. I know there's contact information we'll share with you if you have further questions specifically related to your own child. We'd be happy to have those conversations with you anytime. Thanks again, and we appreciate you being members of the GNS community. We love having you.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.